Last night, the Ukrainians sunk a Russian transport ship, pretty big one, using jet skis and drones. That did you ever encounter anything like that in your Pentagon days?
No. Good morning. I think that they're doing all kinds of things outside the box. The question is whether the big funding will come their way to continue what they're doing, and it doesn't look that way up on Capitol Hill currently.
Now, I am of the opinion, and I'll talk to Mike Gallagher at the bottom of the hour about this, that a discharge petition would attract enough Republicans and lose few enough Democrats to pass. Do you have an opinion on that?
I think it's possible, and I think it would show a real weakness of Speaker Johnson. Obviously, he's dealing with a very slim majority that got even more slim last night, and I think that is a possibility. There are some Democrats, though, Hugh, that have a problem with some of the funding, primarily to Israel.
Right. The squad is against the Israeli money, and some of the right wingers in the Congress are against the Ukraine money. But I think it's a 300 vote deal. I don't even think it's close if they decide. Republicans might not want to make the speaker look as weak as he is, but we got to face the numbers. He's got, what, a 3 vote majority now? They can lose 2 votes on any particular vote?
Yeah, 2. They can only lose 2 on any vote. And it's really untenable to govern in that environment when you have so many different, factions pulling one way or another. They're going to have to, this next election, if they're going to really do any big things, get a wider margin.
Yeah, I don't think anything's going to happen in Congress for the rest of the year other than by discharge petition and a supplemental that's going to punt it till next year. Now, Brett, I want to go back to one of the times I was on special report. The Colorado Supreme Court handed down their 4-3 vote. And I kind of went crazy on your show and said that's the dumbest thing I've seen, compared it to a bad high school musical. After the arguments last week, do you think it's going to be 9-0 to reverse the Colorado Supreme Court?
I think John Roberts is really going to try to get the court to go 9-0. Listening to those questions, listening to Ketanji Brown Jackson, listening to Justice Kagan, it's tough sometimes to read between the tea leaves in the Supreme Court arguments, but they're right in front of your face in this one. So there's going to be an effort 100% to be 9-0, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of the liberal justices wrote the opinion.
That's what I'm thinking. I think the chief will get a 9-0, and he will assign it to Justice Kagan, and she will write a narrow opinion just saying what she said in her question, which is, are you saying that one state can change the entire election? Now, Brett, moving to the other series of cases, I just have a news question. How are you covering, it's so complex with 4 prosecutions of the president and an appeal of the immunity decision up at the same time as a January 6th defendant is appealing their conviction on one of the theories Jack Smith is using. It is so incredibly complex. How are you breaking that down for television viewers when you have limited amount of time? You can't do what I do, which has spend 3 hours talking on an appellate process. What are you doing?
Well, I mean, we've got different teams looking at each one of those. We have, efforts in each place to report when there are developments. And then a lot of times we don't do an individual story on each one. We do a kind of a compilation, or we have a report and then digest with Jonathan Turley or Andy McCarthy or something like that.
Now, I'd like to play for you a quote from Chuck Schumer yesterday and get your reaction to it, because to me, it's exactly what I expected and has nothing to do with the Hur report, cut number 12.
I talk to President Biden, regularly, sometimes several times in a week, or usually several times in a week. His mental acuity is great. It's fine. It's as good as it's been over the years. I've been speaking to him for 30 years, since we worked on the Brady bill and the assault weapons ban when I was a young congressman. He's fine. All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity has declined is wrong. He's going to win the election because he has a great record, because more and more Americans are seeing that record.
Special counsel Hur is not right-wing propaganda, but the question, Brett, do you think that moves the needle at all on the reaction to the Hur report?
No, I really don't. I think that the red alert went out, and over the weekend you saw all kinds of Democratic officials, not only cabinet officials like Alejandro Mayorkas, but senators, Chris Coons, others saying how wonderfully the president is in answering questions, in mental acuity. The problem is that we as Americans see day to day what he does on the stage, how he gets off and on the stage, and how he talks through things, and the fact that he's not doing interviews. So if they would like to show the mental acuity, I think that he should do some long-form interviews with me and others who would be fair but tough, and you would obviously see his mental acuity.
That has been my recommendation, acknowledged by them, which is sit down with three anchors, one of them you, and do a half hour to 45 minutes in the Red Room. They set that up. Did you interview President Obama?
I did. Right before the health care vote, we did a half an hour interview in the Blue Room.
In the Blue Room. And so when you do that, they don't screen your questions. He just wants to get a message out. And he was among the most verbally fluent presidents of our lifetime. And they have no idea what's coming. Did he stumble or mumble or do anything except filibuster?
No, filibuster was it. And I had to make a decision about whether to press him and sort of interrupt or just get rolled in the interview. I chose to press, and so it got a little heated in the back and forth, but he was very generous with his time, and we did a walk and talk afterwards. But no, he didn't fumble or anything. He wanted to get a message out about Obamacare. He just didn't want to get down into the weeds, whether you could keep your doctor or not.
I'm not surprised. I don't remember the interview, but I'm not surprised he didn't want to do that. So it would be very easy. Is there any anchor in town who would not immediately trot up to the White House to do 30 minutes with the president?
No, absolutely not. You get that invite. It's what you have to do. It's history whenever you interview a president, and I think especially now there are so many different things happening, and when the president gets out and he talks about MAGA and he talks about the danger to our democracy from former President Trump, questioning about that would be really illuminating if he would agree to it.
Now, scrambling the jets would be easy. He went out and did an impromptu presser on Thursday night, and the first person he called was your own Peter Doocy, who was ready. I would have been stunned if I was Peter that he called on me and asked exactly the right question. Did you expect the president to ask Peter a question coming out of that statement?
They have, believe it or not, a really good relationship back and forth, and he gets a question a lot of times. And so I think there's a mutual respect as far as, he knows he has a job. He wants to take a tough question. I think that was a good thing for him. I don't think his answer and his answers were good for him politically, and especially when he turned around and answered the Gaza question with the president of Mexico instead of Egypt.
Yeah, I think what he intended to say to Peter Doocy was, look, Peter, you're right. My memory's failing. I called on you. That would have been funny, but it was delivered flat, and so it wasn't funny. So I want to close with this. The Super Bowl had the largest television audience since we landed on the moon. 123 million people. The biggest debates you did the first debate in 2016. How many people did you have for that?
I think total it was about 26 million. Okay. The largest non-sports event to that point.
Who passes by 123 million people, Brett?
Maybe Fox Super Bowl in New Orleans next year.
Okay, okay. So the president might sit down, but what individual passes by an interview when they're in front of 123 million people?
Oh, no. I mean, and let's just say, the couple hours before the pregame, maybe it gets 60 million. That's a lot of people to talk to. and it's not going to be a really grilling interview. It was a big opportunity.
I can't get over their media strategy, which itself indicts the president's abilities. Bret Baier, always a pleasure to talk with you. A little bit inside television.